Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Choose Focus First and 10. You're here with JP, Quentin, and Caleb. We're doing a live show. A little bit of a stressful game, but nothing too bad. I mean, I know everybody was flipping out during the game, and, we saw a lot of negative things being said, which is, fans will be fans. It is what it is. I think the whole fire, there's one person that needs to be gone, and that's really about it. We have a young defense, and I think people forget this. We have a very young defense. We got 5 rookies, 3 first-year guys with the team that are still relatively young, and our defensive line is actually doing really well. So, and our linebackers are doing really well. So for the secondary to have a little bit of a struggle here and there is going to be, it should be expected. I don't know why everybody's complaining so much, but that's to be expected. What shouldn't be expected is terrible offensive play calls. Actually, I should take this back. I should rewind a little bit. A portion of the game, great play calls, moving down the field efficiently, doing everything right. Then somebody else decides to start calling plays, and it goes to crap. This needs to end. It's not doing Mahomes any good. It's not doing the rest of the defense or the offense any good. It's really, we won because we were good, but it should have been a lot close. A lot. I should have worded this. I can't even say it should be even different than what it was, given the fact that our defense is where it's at. The Broncos haven't allowed more than 20 points all season long. They, top 5 defense. We were all over them. 34 points. Russell Wilson wasn't Russell Wilson after he took that hit. I think he was dreaming of being at home with Sierra, or he may have been up on stage singing at some point, but he definitely wasn't on a football field because his mind was gone. The look on his face was proof enough. And I think the defense did a good job of tackling. They did the best they could possibly do, given the situation and some of the schemes they were put in. So, I don't know. We're 10-3. So, I know a lot of people are, we put it out there, let's complain. So I'm sure everybody's going to, jump on and complain. But, Phillips said the third down defense must improve. It should, but it will. Again, some of these guys are younger. When you're at 3rd and 1, most teams in the NFL are going to allow that first down. So it doesn't. I'm not surprised that they allow a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2 here and there, because we stop a lot of them as well. We're great in goal line defense. I don't know, man. It's pretty interesting to say the least to listen to some people just blow up and want to just fire everybody. It's can't really do that when your team has been to the AFC Championship game 4 times straight and 2 Super Bowls, and we're 10-3 right now with a brand new team basically. So it's just a learning curve. What do you guys think?
I one of the things I want to hop on is you're absolutely correct. The tackling was so much better this week.
Yeah.
That was one of the things we talked about last week, is just how bad the tackling was and how guys were just getting plowed over, and we didn't see that this week. It was, quality tackling. It is tough for a defense, to have to go in, scramble, drill, turnover, get back onto the field 3 different times. I do think that, turnovers had been a problem for this team all year, and you're not going to get away with 3 turnovers against really any other team maybe the Texans. But you can't turn the ball over 3 times. Look, it's a good win, right? Travis Kelce continues to be a Canton-bound tight end. Jerick McKinnon looked fantastic. So there's a lot of positive things to look at. You beat your division rival yet again in Denver. Mahomes is still undefeated on the road in the AFC West. So there's a ton of things to talk about and be excited for. But, like everything, there's some things we got to clean up. But I think overall this is a positive game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Can you hear me? Yeah. What I was going to say is, no, I agree. I think it comes down to as well, I know we talk about coordinators a lot. That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of one of the biggest things that's holding this team back. The offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, they're just not adjusting in certain instances and helping out their guys. I mean, I feel like at this point, Mahomes is winning a Super Bowl, then the 4 straight AFC Championship games. You would think he would have some freedom to check out of plays, and also how I feel personally about Spagnuolo is like, come on, man, you got to adjust and give your guys a chance. I mean, yeah, like JP said, we got a lot of rookies that are doing really well, but sometimes you got to put them in a better position. And there's no way the Broncos really should have scored 28, but really a couple of touchdowns shouldn't really even happen. I understand kind of things went their way and things like that are going to happen, but it feels like adjustments have to be made a lot quicker. Like you should be
give
playing
a short field like that, it's going to happen. I mean, some of the worst.
Yeah,
teams in
but
football,
there's
they
stuff
give them on
that's
the
still
30-yard line. And,
well, yeah, but there's still stuff that could have been done, in my opinion, personally, that could have helped maybe possibly stop some of these issues from happening. But regardless, it's either here or there. But I'm just saying, it feels like some of these issues from the coordinators are really going to hurt the Chiefs moving forward, especially into the playoffs. That's just how I feel.
I think the biggest thing, and Scott Morris said as an old fan, I've always hated the Donkeys. This game made me nervous. Maybe it's the fact that I've seen it all. I've seen it all a good win. Yeah, I mean, I agree. No matter how bad a divisional opponent is, we always have that problem with them. It happens. Frank Clark doesn't get enough respect. I'm going to say this until I die. The man was all over the field tonight. He did everything he could possibly do. Everything he could possibly do to get in that backfield. And he did it. Willie Gay had a great game, like Philip pointed out, probably one of his best of the year. Nick Bolton was all over the place. You're going to expect a secondary that are all rookies. They're going to have some issues here and there. It's not going to be all sunshine and daisies. It's going to be a tough game. And look, we played more number one defenses than anybody in football this year. I mean, we played the number 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. And we've really put a lot of points on every single one of those teams.
I mean, we've put over we dropped 40 on 2 of them, and we put 34 on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I tweeted out in the game, I said, I guess we just got to play a top defense every week because that's when the Chiefs show up.
Yeah. That's fair. Exactly. And I agree with you there. And, yeah, I mean, there's going to be, like JP said, I mean, they're not going to shut no one out. I mean, those games, people say, why can't we have a stress-free game? Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. This is the NFL. There's going to be a team every single week. And we see the Texans took the Cowboys down the wire. I mean, stuff like that just isn't going to happen off the fly.
I will say that I think it was a good win. I think with the exception of some mistakes made on offense, especially, and I actually tweeted out that I was in a group chat and I said, I hope they don't go to what I think they're going to go to after this 27-0 lead. And that's exactly what they did. They came out hot. They came out firing on all the cylinders, and then it went to really crappy play calling. I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut on certain things, but I will say that at some point, when you're a quarterback of that caliber and someone is telling you to call plays, or to run certain plays, I should say, and you decide to make a change, or you don't like the play, or whatever the case may be, and nobody's stepping in to change it or agree with you or listen to what you have to say, what you see on the field, any of that, it's just at some point you're just going to start running the plays that are called. And he did that and during this game. I could see it. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say any more about what I heard, but it wasn't good. And that Michael Burton call was horrible. It was a terrible call. Anytime he's on the field, you know what's coming. They knew this was coming. If they were going to put him out on the field, they should have ran a short screen or let Mahomes take it up the middle. But they didn't do that. They gave it to Burton, which, was fully expected, and we got stuffed. So, I don't know. Carter asked real quick. He says, "How does Pat fix the weird turnovers issues had from time to time?" It's gonna get panned in the middle of the media tomorrow.
I want to talk about what Carter put up because I kind of have an answer to that. So the one where the Patrick Surtain interception, the one where he just like picked it up off his shoe tops, his shoelaces there. Mahomes said in the post-game conference that he was just trying to throw the ball away, but get it around somebody. So that's one where, you just got to make sure you're out of the pocket and throw it out of bounds. The one where he was trying to throw it to Travis Kelce, that first one. He said that, he was just trying to make sure he was trying to throw it where only he can get it, but he just couldn't see the linebacker. He said that he couldn't throw it high like he would because you're going to make Travis Kelce go up and there's a defender in the area. And I think that last one, I literally just don't think that he saw the defensive player. I just don't think that he saw him. Look, and in terms of getting him to stop it, I think Patrick Mahomes is probably for his entire career going to have one of these games, these fluky games where he's just going to, look not great for a good chunk of it. I mean, the guy still threw for almost 350 yards. So, it's not like he threw 3 interceptions and it was dunking the ball down all game. He was still pushing the ball downfield, and I think this is just short of his gameplay. It's like a great basketball player that's hitting threes all day, but for whatever reason, his rebounds, he's just not able to get any rebounds. Or a baseball player that is able to go up and hit a home run, but continues to strike out against 3 times. So I think this just happens too. So yeah, you're absolutely exactly. Carter. We do hold him to such a high standard because he is so great. I mean, when you start off with, I saw that first touchdown to Jerick McKinnon. Mitchell Schwartz
Nobody
called
should be
it.
able to do that.
Yeah, Mitchell Schwartz called it a grenade toss, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, he lobbed it. He wasn't even looking at him. So when your first touchdown of the day is that, and then you go in and you throw what are dumb interceptions, it's going to happen. And we were saying this all week coming up to this game. That's a really good defense and really good defensive backs. Patrick Surtain has picked off Patrick Mahomes in every single one of the games that they've played. So, these are just good players. Football players are going to make football plays. And, Patrick Mahomes is the best of them all. But, he is still human. So he's going to make mistakes. And we just got to hope that he doesn't. I don't want him to get rid of that part of his game, though. I don't want him to ever be gun shy because he's thrown interceptions. So I would much rather have.
He threw a bunch. The year he threw the most he had thrown, he didn't get gun
13.
shy. So 13. So I don't think he's going to get gun shy now. And honestly, look, man, that guy, Surtain, and the other one that intercepted that ball, I can't think of his name right now. That dude reached like none other and came out of nowhere. I mean. And then, honestly, on one of them, I believe Juju was supposed to be, the route was supposed to be shorter than he ran. And I could tell that by the way the route was set up. Juju was about 4 yards too deep, maybe 5. So it's going to happen. He's still one of the lowest interception. He has one of the lowest interception rates of anybody in the league. So he's going to have a game here and there. We just played a very good defense. They got a bunch of ball hawks on that team, so it's to be expected. Not everybody's going to be perfect in every way.
Like you said earlier, they hadn't given up 20+ points in a game this year, and we come in and we drop 34 on them at home. So, this offense really came out clicking, and when Mahomes comes out, he makes a couple of mistakes. The defense, you're talking under, I think it was like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 54 seconds, something like that, of actual gameplay. The Broncos were able to score 21 points, unanswered points. So, that offense got rolling, and the Chiefs sort of sputtered out a couple of times. You're going to get back into it. But I think it's also, you look at how they were still able to keep going. I think a lot of badly coached, poorly coached teams would have crumbled there and would have just let the comeback happen. Sort of like, think the Texans game, the playoff game, where it's like team comes back and it's gone from there. But this team stuck to it, and they were never losing in that game at all. So they were, They kept the lead going when things weren't going their way. They were still continuing to go. So it's a testament to good coaching and a good football team that the Chiefs are. They're 10-3. We could talk about the defense for a little bit. They got to Russ Wilson 6 times.
Yeah. No, not just 6 times. They sacked him 6 times.
They sacked him 6 times. They had 11 quarterback hits and 7 batted passes.
Yeah.
They were putting pressure all over Wilson in the entire game.
Mike Dana is a starter. It's that simple. Mike Dana has played out of his shoes every time he's on the field. When he is on the field, Chris Jones plays better. Everybody plays better. Kelsey, broke the 10,000 mark basically on one play, which I actually called out on the last show. I said he'll probably do it in one play, and he did.
He did, yeah. I'll give you credit.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. McKinnon, unbelievable. Unbelievable catch and run. And not just one, but he had multiple catches that were phenomenal. Pacheco is a different player. The guy is a beast. You can't expect anything different from him. Every time he gets hit, he's back in the line of scrimmage immediately. He doesn't feel the hits, but everybody else does. And it's scary to watch him run because when he takes off with the ball, I'm scared for defenders, and I don't even like those teams. Do you guys think it's possible we will have a new OC in DC next year? We'll definitely have a new OC next year. I don't know about DC, maybe, but I heard some.
I would say with DC, you might as well entertain it just to see who else is out there. I mean, I'm just saying, if we're going to go after Spags, I feel like he somewhat deserves to be on the hot seat a little bit, especially after the last couple seasons.
He's actually really stepped up with a bunch of rookies. I mean,
I would say the players have stepped up. I would say the players have stepped up. I feel like his inability though to adjust has been one of the huge problems. I'm not saying he hasn't done it all, but I feel like just the inability up to the adjustments over time.
Well, he's brought a lot of good coaching in, and he's coached up a lot of rookies this year. All of them have. I mean, from Joe Cullen, everybody that's really stepped up this year on the defensive side of the ball, and I think Spags has stepped out of his comfort zone, especially with the rookies. He had to. He didn't have a choice.
That's all he had available. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's using them. I mean, when was the last time I don't remember a year that we had multiple 4 and 5 sack games. I don't remember a year.
Because we never had a pass rush like this before.
To me,
I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
To me, I remember Justin Houston and Tamba was probably the last time we had a pass rush effective, but there's no way that they had multiple, because if you had that, both of them would have had like 20 sacks, and that's not happened. So
yeah,
this has been an amazing sort of streaky, coming on, and they've had, I want to say, at least 3 games with 5 sacks, and then in between there, they've had 2 games with 3 sacks, and then just others sprinkled in there. So this pass rush has been a step up than it was last year.
And that's just a testament to, look, we've said this so many times and nobody seems to get it, but when your defensive line is actually working and everybody's, the continuity's there and everybody's doing their job, then your linebackers can stay on assignment, your secondary can stay on assignment, but when it breaks apart, like it did in years past, then everybody has to fall off their assignment to help and to cover someone else. So it's going to hurt you at some point. What we are seeing right now is a defensive line. They brought the right guys in. They brought the right defensive line coach in. And they're making adjustments that I think, as far as from last year to this year, is night and day, especially with a bunch of rookies. But I don't know. I did hear some things. I'm not going to bring it up on the show right now, but I heard some things that might be floating around for next year. If it does happen on the defensive side of the ball, it does. But look, I'm sorry, but this issue that is going on right now has been going on for a long time, and it just needs to stop on the offensive side of the ball. I get that certain people are allowed, when you're an OC, are allowed a certain amount of calls, but
play calls are terrible, man. They were not good.
You know
No,
what?
they were terrible.
This is a positive show. Let's be positive. The Chiefs scored more than 30
Facts.
points again. We're gonna be positive. Let's stop this. I'm gonna go with Carter Topliff said this. Well said. Clyde doesn't pick up that first down and seal it. I think you're right.
hell
I
no,
agree.
he doesn't.
I
Because
agree.
Clyde-
Clyde would have fell back over.
Because Clyde's
He
been in
would've
that
picked it up.
situation. I think it was the Ravens last year where we needed a first down and he fumbled the ball.
Yep.
Clyde's been
Mhm.
in that situation and he wasn't doing it. Pacheco, it was funny. During the locker room press conferences, they were talking to Willie Gay about his pick six, and they ended up talking about Pacheco sealing the game. And this is what Willie Gay said about Pacheco. Linebackers hate running backs like him. He's hard-nosed and is trying to run through your face. And I have never heard anything more just exactly describing the way Pacheco runs, because that's true. He does. He's trying to run through you. I think if he gets his stiff arm down, he could be Derrick Henry mini, just because he's not as big as him. But the guy,
He's like the water boy. I mean, you could just see him running and just tearing off through the tunnel and taking people out as he goes. I mean,
I just don't think that he gets enough credit, on like the either the national scale or to some extent Chiefs fans, just don't talk about the way that he's able to get some of those extra yards when you need to seal the game. I don't know the last time we've had a running back where it's like, when I know that we need to run the ball, we trust our running back to run the ball. Because I was so worried when we were trying to bleed the clock down that Andy Reid was going to try and call like a screen, and it was going to be an incomplete pass, and then the Broncos were going to get the ball back with no timeouts and 45 seconds left. I did not want that. So it was so nice, because that's happened before. But to just be able to say, here, Pacheco, it's up to you. You do it. And he
the
did.
last running back we had that did that, honestly, was Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was the guy that always got you your first downs, whether it would be on a screen or the guy broke tackles, and he's still doing it. I mean, even after an injury or so, he's still doing it. But he didn't have the – Kareem was very and he still is, very patient. And he was able to break tackles with his ankles. He twisted his ankles out of a lot of tackles. He used his legs to get – Pacheco just stomps people out of the way. And that's the difference between the two. He said, I love the water boy reference. Nailed it.
Classic.
Well, honestly, it's true. I mean, you could just see him not stopping. I mean, I could just see that happening in some game. It may be a playoff game. You never know. But Pacheco's just so damn strong. And he doesn't stop. Man, the guy can have four guys on top of him, and he throws them off like rag dolls. He's back in the huddle.
Well, that's a crazy thing.
That's that 2-minute drill he's running in his head. From the second the game starts until it ends, he's running a 2-minute drill, and it's like, my God, dude, you're phenomenal. I mean, he doesn't get tired, and that's what blows my mind is he doesn't wear down.
Well, I would say the RB1 job is his, not going nowhere else.
Yeah, no.
It is definitely his. It is not going anywhere else. And what we've seen, like Quentin and you and I saw, training camp, this guy is phenomenal. He can do a lot of different things. He's going to help us a lot in the playoffs. When we need to get that first down, he will be there to help get that.
27 reps on 225-pound bench press. That's pretty strong. 27 reps is a lot, especially to be clean reps. So, yeah, he's just an animal, and his legs are just ridiculously strong. And, he gets skinny really easily, which is kind of crazy to me because he's such a stocky guy. You wouldn't think he would be – he'd have the ability to get skinny so easily, but he does. And when I say that, I mean he's able to squeeze between tackles and get the extra yardage he needs. I don't know. He's a great player, but I'm not going to take anything away from the defense right now. I'm just not. I mean, look, we can bitch and complain about the defense all day long, but we're still under 20th overall. We're, creating more sacks than we've created. I think we've got more sacks this year than we've had the prior two, almost combined.
You want me to go through all the guys that had sacks today?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know Mike Dana and Chris Jones had him. I think.
Thornhill,
Yeah.
Chris Jones, Mike Dana, George Karlaftis, Frank Clark, all had one. Brandon Williams and Darius Harris had half a sack. So,
Who can complain about that? Honestly, who
six
can
different
complain about
dudes. I mean, I feel like usually when you get that many sacks, it's like one guy had two or three. 6 end of it, well, 7 because of the half sacks, all of them to get says a lot about how effective your pass rush really can be. And I know this Broncos offensive line is nothing special, but just for so many guys to dominate and to really put a mess into the backfield. Derek Nottie, Willie Gay also had quarterback hits. So, for them to once again they're not getting the sack, but they're getting the pressure, which sometimes can be just
More
effective as
beneficial.
a sack because you force stupid throws like the pick
Exactly.
six, because that's what that pick six was. Russell Wilson did not want to throw that ball where he wanted to, but because Willie Gay was in his face, he knew he needed to dump the ball off, otherwise he was going to get flattened. And because of that, you have a really great, just a really athletic play. We talk about how athletic Willie Gay is. What a great way to show off his athleticism. It was funny. Willie Gay said in the post-game conference, he said, I've been speaking that into existence since week 1. So he's been telling his guys that I'm going to get a pick six every week since week 1, and he was finally able to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at everything that this team has done, and we've said this over and over again. This team is not designed to have 2 guys with 10 or 15 sacks, and everybody seems to dream that that's what we're supposed to have, and it's not. Honestly, the amount of sacks that Chris Jones has right now is probably over what he should have, just simply because this team is designed to have 3 or 4 guys a game with a sack. It's not designed to have 2 guys with 4 sacks each, or 2 guys at the end of the season with 15. It's just not designed like that. If it was, it'd be a different story. Then everybody can complain about the sack totals, but I don't know why anybody would be complaining about it now.
Well,
I mean,
and then one thing I'm gonna add to your guys' point, looking at the run defense. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there was 2 plays where Chris Jones tackled the running back with one hand while he was on the defender. Did you guys see that? There were 2 plays. It was crazy.
He was being double teamed. And
exactly.
Somehow he was able to get a hand on the jersey and just pull the guy down, even though he had 2 guys on him. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how that's physically possible to have 2 guys on you and you're still able to rip the running back down.
Exactly. I saw that. I was like, oh my goodness, he is strong.
Well, that's a guy that's definitely playing for a contract next year here, and or to continue to play here, I should say. And I think everybody is. I think Karlaftis, like Philip said, is playing out of his shoes right now. He's starting to get his groove on, and he's starting to figure out his technique, getting in the backfield. I wish he'd not be a water boy sometimes and just not overrun the quarterback, but that happens. He's another one that's just all over the place, and sometimes I think he outruns his pursuit. But for the most part, he's coming into his own, and I'm not complaining about the defense. Who cares? Who cares that they allowed the Broncos to get 28 points? I don't care. I really don't. I mean, honestly, this team has gotten, we've given up 10 points, we've given up 17 points, 13 points, 20 points, 24 points, 27 points, and now 28 points. 30 once. So what? I mean, out of all of those games, we're 10-3. 10-3. And it wasn't because, and we are still, there was games we didn't score that much. 24 points, 26 points, 27 points. We had 3 games in a row we scored 27. Under 27, I should say. So, people are complaining. I think that's what frustrates me is I see all the complaints, fire Spags, fire this guy, fire that guy. Get rid of, the one thing that got me today with the best was Thornhill needs to go. And Thornhill is one of the better players on the field today. Yeah,
I didn't agree with that statement people were saying. I didn't agree with that.
And look, man, he was one of the better players on the field today. He played phenomenal. He was all over the place. He did his job. I don't know what more people expect, but man, I'm not worried. I'm just not. Look, if I had to worry about, I think if I was a Bills fan right now, I'd be worried because I got to play Miami next week. We don't. It's that simple. You know, we don't play Miami next week. We have a lot of time to be able to make adjustments, put the right players in the right places, similar to what our defense did today, to succeed later on in the season and into the playoffs. To where right now Buffalo is losing players left and right. So, and they got a tougher schedule at the end of the season. It's just that simple. I mean, they really do. They barely beat the Jets today. That wasn't like some kind of smackdown. That was 20-12. I mean,
It was like basically a heavyweight fight. I mean,
I
one
mean,
mistake.
That Jets
could've ended
defense
it
is
for-
for real. So
They are.
you know, you got to give, and I'll say this. I'll say this too. With Karlaftis, you know, we've been talking about for a few months now, I believe, about how eventually he's going to get his, because you know you could see he was getting there, he was getting close, and then he was just, you know, he's finally hitting your groove. You know, earlier you said that there were times that he was over pursuing, and that's
It
true
was. Yeah.
because you can't give quarterbacks and running backs holes to run through. And I mean, we saw this in the 49ers game when the Chiefs were up against the 49ers. There were times where we weren't blocking their outside line or their defensive end, and we were just letting him run upfield and running the ball, you know, right next to where he should have been, or to the opposite side. And I think the teams were taking advantage of that just because of how his motor is. I think now he's starting to understand his role and just how to play at the NFL level, because you're not going to win just on athleticism alone. There is a lot of technique to it. So to see him really starting,
his techniques are really becoming.
he's
prevalent.
really
You can
starting to
see them
get
now.
there. And we got to remember too, he's a rookie, and generally speaking, if you're a defensive end and you don't get drafted in the top 15 your rookie year, you don't really produce. That's sort of the facts of the matter, is that usually, you know, a defensive ends that are, you know, the top of the cream of the crop, quickly translate into the NFL level, so they get taken really early in the draft. And to have a guy that was picked late in the first round, you know, later in the year, in December, right before the playoff, to start to figure out how his craft works in the NFL is so important. I wouldn't be surprised if here in a couple weeks we're talking about Karlaftis coming through with a huge sack that ends a game, because I really think he's starting to come along, and I think he's ahead of schedule for where, you know, he should be compared to the history of where defensive linemen being drafted in the 30 spot.
Especially in his position.
Yeah, exactly,
That's
because
the difference.
the cream of the crop of defensive ends don't get the ones that get picked early in the first round. They translate well, because that if your technique is down in college, it translates really quickly to the NFL. So guys that get picked later in the draft, it takes a while for them to figure out their craft in the NFL level. So because if they knew that you were going to be that good, you would have gone earlier in the draft.
I mean, 3 sacks in 3 weeks is pretty good. So he's on a phenomenal route so far. Like you guys said, I think he's going to do something pretty good pretty soon.
Well, and that's what you noticed with him. I mean, prior when I was talking about over pursuing, he would be 2-3 yards behind the quarterback, where if he's breaking on an in route, then he needs to stay on the in route. Instead, he would break in, break back out, and then he'd end up behind the quarterback. And that's something that he's learned that he can't do. If you're going to go to the inside, stay to the inside. If you're going to go to the outside, work your way to the inside. Don't work your way around. It's almost like when you see some 95-year-old guy making a U-turn, or just making a left-hand turn, and he cuts over into the right-hand lane to make a left-hand turn. That's kind of what he was doing, and now he's realized that, man, I can't really do that. I've got to make more of a beeline, or at least cut myself towards the quarterback and make those adjustments and the cuts that I have to make to get there, and that's what he's doing. I agree with Philip here. You know, Brandon Williams, the dude's phenomenal. I think he does need to have more snaps. He needs to be in the rotation more. He's strong. He's athletic. Every time he's on the field, he's he's a younger version, I guess, to me, as far as athleticism is concerned, is like a Carlos Dunlap. He just gets out there and plays. You know, I mean, he understands the defense. He knows how to read offenses. He knows how to do a lot of things that people don't give him credit for. And as far as the talk about Pacheco, really quick, I've watched a lot this year, or this last week, I should say. Talk going into this Broncos game. A couple of guys picked. Of course, you're going to get your couple guys that pick, the Broncos to win. But for the most part, I did hear Pacheco's name a whole lot from the national media, a lot more than I had heard the prior 9 weeks. Finally, a couple of guys stepped up and said, "Look, this guy, he's an animal, and he's starting to understand the game." And today, what I noticed is, and this is the first time I actually noticed it of every game he's been in, he has patience. He actually slowed himself down a little bit, was able to wait for the gap to open, and then bolted. That's what he needed to do to be a phenomenal 6 yards a carry guy. And that's what he's doing. Today he slowed down, he followed his blockers, he did everything he needed to do, and then when it was time that he just needed a bull rush, he took 2-3 guys with him. And then he would spin himself out and pick up an extra. I mean, his yards after the first down are insane. That's what gets me the most, is if he needs 1 yard, he picks up 5. It's just his strength is insane.
That was my biggest, I don't want to say complaint, because I don't think that's the way I portrayed it, nor did I want to portray it like that. But criticism. My biggest criticism of Pacheco early in the year was that he would just run straight downhill, and he wouldn't wait for his blockers. And so early in the year, he was just getting stuffed a lot because he would have 2 or 3 guys come and get him, and he would have no blockers in front of him. And we're seeing later in the year, he's starting to get the ball and slow down and be a little bit more surgical in how he wants to go and attack the defensive line. So he's learning too, and he's getting better, which is great because you can see the physical talent and the attitude is there. So for him to be able to just slow down a little bit and to be a little bit more methodical in how he wants to go and run the ball, and then as soon as he sees the gap, he's going, and it's going to take a good pop or a couple of guys to get him down. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Pacheco, and I think that he's going to be a lot better.
Carter,
all the
I
credit
agree with you there, buddy. Real quick.
All the credit goes to Veach. I mean, he said, and I'll keep going back to this. He said in a interview that going into the draft, before draft night, he said that there's going to be a lot of starting NFL running back talent in the 7th round. And here we walk away with this nobody from Rutgers who is now starting for, the best offense in the NFL.
Well, and the funny part is, by the way, Carter, I actually agree with you. That was probably the best thing I had seen with the McDuffie when we traded up for him. The look on their face was, I think I have that screenshotted somewhere because it was so classic. In fact, I think I know I do. That was perfect. I mean, look, McDuffie he is going to be a year 2. All you're going to hear is his name. And that's what I want. I've been trying to get across to people is, Reset, I'm surprised you're not on here. You were doing a lot of complaining during the game, but we still won the game. Yeah, Mahomes threw a few interceptions. It happens. There was times that and in fact, I was going back to that too because there was a couple of them that he was under a lot of pressure. And it always came from the same side, it seemed like, but he was under pressure. So, we can't expect much more. But look, man, we got a bunch of guys right now. And what I'm trying to get at is that these guys, I'm hoping and praying they make the Super Bowl this year. I feel like they can. I feel like they're probably a 90% shoo-in for the Super Bowl at this point. I want everybody to understand what they're going to be like next year. That's what people are not understanding. If they're this good right now as rookies, how are they going to be next year as second-year guys in this defense? It's going to be insane to watch how well they develop over spring, during the summer, during training camp, and going into next year. We've got a group of guys on our defense that we can't complain about. We really can't. And Saunders has played. Hey, buddy, what's up? Chiefs Live. Saunders has been playing out of his shoes. That's the most athletic 330-pound guy I've ever seen in my life.
He can do backflips. You guys have to remember that. He can do back.
Yeah, never seen nothing like that in my life. I mean, I don't know. Look, man. There's sumo wrestlers out there that can't. You thought were good, but then you got Saunders that just
Yeah.
comes out, does backflip, front flip. He looks like he's a gymnast. Blown out of the water how good he is. But what I noticed today, and Tony, I understood why they just made the decision. I get it. I was told that they were probably going to get him a few reps in, and then they pulled him back. It wasn't because of injury. Their mindset was, let's give him a little bit more time to rest. We are playing the Broncos. Now, let's move forward and think about something. When we get Tony back, we get McColl back, that offense is even going to be more explosive than it already is. And our defense is going to step up more than what I think everybody gives them credit for. People, today our defense sucks. I got so tired of seeing that today. I actually stopped looking at Twitter because our defense doesn't suck. We just played a divisional team that has nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. Nothing. So why wouldn't they come out and try to do their best to score? A couple of those scores shouldn't have happened. They should have, when an interception happens and you give somebody the ball on the 30-yard line, you might as well expect some type of a score. It's going to happen. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's kind of it's almost a law in football. So we can't expect that not to happen. There's very few times that you give somebody the ball in their territory and they don't at least get a field goal, no matter how bad they are, unless you're Tom Brady playing the Saints. So, he did actually beat him this time, but he was losing the entire game. I had to go into overtime to beat a team that's horrid. So, and he got stomped into the ground today. I mean, that was probably the worst beating I've seen. I think it is the worst beating Tom Brady's ever gotten. So, I don't know what the score ended up being, but I know it was
35-7.
35-7. It was 35-0. 35-0 at what, halftime?
I think they left off at one point because this is over. They could have
Yeah.
used scored 50.
Yeah. So we have to remember that, man. I mean, we are a pro player. We're always going to be that. We are going to critique when it needs to be critiqued. There are certain things that need to be changed as far as a scheme is concerned, I think. And that's just part of learning what your players can and cannot do, where they match up the best with each player. Usually a coach, a defensive coordinator especially, has time with their players to where they can look at them and go, okay, well, last year they matched up really well with this size of guy that ran this speed, that had this cut, that had this reach. Spags doesn't have that. He has nothing to really go off of besides what he sees in practice and now what he's got a little bit of film on these guys in the regular season. But at least a year to be able to adjust and have your players adjust and you understand where they belong. When you got a guy, and I'm going to say it because I really don't care, if it's on the opposite side of the ball and you've got a guy that knows exactly what these players can do because you've been playing with those players for a certain amount of time, but yet you still call plays that suck, that aren't good, that purposely cause us issues, is what it seems like to me. It's time for a change. Spags is a 4-time Super Bowl defensive coordinator. Yes, is he still stuck a little bit in the old school? To some degree he is. But that's why you bring in a Joe Cullen. That's why you bring in everybody else that can help him come to the new age. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And that's why you give them a bunch of rookies that you don't have anybody else to go to. So it's either you play them or you just keep your defense off the field and just let them score. And I think he's done the entire defensive staff has done a really good job with bringing these guys up to speed as quickly as they had to do that, especially against the teams we've had to play. It's not like we had some Tom Brady schedule from, the Patriots. We didn't have that. We played some tough football teams. Well, we had 5 top 10 defenses we played, 3 top 5 defenses. Come on, man. I mean, I don't know. I understand people get frustrated, but in the same aspect, there's really no reason to. There really isn't. I mean,
how long should it take for adjustments to happen then? I'm just playing devil's advocate. How long do you think they should take?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm talking about in game. I'm talking about in game adjustments.
Well, I think it depends on. I don't know if you can just give like a time frame on it because I think it depends on what's happening. I mean,
Mhm.
if they've got if you're running a certain type of defense that hasn't worked for, let's say if you're playing press coverage, right, like press man coverage, and all year, we're at week 8 or something like that, and all year that team has struggled against press man coverage. They have smaller wide receivers, and a lot of the routes their offense throws is a lot of timing routes. So you could knock guys off, but they've burned you a couple times on your when you're running press man coverage. Well, at that point, you want to stick with what you know. You don't need to adjust just for the sake of adjusting. But if you're playing something
I agree.
that if you're playing something maybe on the opposite where you're good at zone coverage and you're playing an average quarterback and all of a sudden he's he turned into God mode and is burning you on zone coverage, maybe you switch to some man coverage just to mix it up a little bit. And maybe
Yeah.
you let that happen for 2 or 3 drives. So I think it depends. I don't think that you can just say, hey, man, after one quarter, after 3 drives, I don't know if you can do that. I think it really depends on the situation.
And I do too. And I think as far as time frame is concerned, when you've got a bunch of rookies, you have to give them a year to be able to learn what these guys are capable of. The defensive line, we know what we've got. It's with the linebackers, we know what we've got. It's just that simple. But when you have 5 rookies in the backfield or 4 rookies in the backfield, you have to have some time and some film to realize what they can and can't do against who they're going against. And I
And
don't
and
think, playing a team once every 3 years is going to get you there.
And
You know,
McDuffie's been great this year. I'm gonna have a show coming out later this week about McDuffie and why his
phenomenal.
technique is so good. But like today, he totally blew coverage. One of those touchdowns is completely on McDuffie
Yeah.
because they were supposed to switch off. He was in control of the back zone of the end zone, the what I guess it would be the right side of the end zone, and the outside wide receiver ran underneath him, and the slot wide receiver ran a post or a corner route to the back of the end zone. McDuffie was clearly supposed to be the guy that was to stay and cover that zone. Instead, when the receiver crossed his face, he went and followed that wide receiver, left the end zone wide open. Russell Wilson completed possibly the easiest touchdown pass of his career because McDuffie didn't stay in his zone coverage. There was nobody else around
Yeah,
him. I
he was
can't
off his
see.
assignment.
Yeah, he blew coverage. So, it literally that's the definition of a rookie mistake, and you got to take those. And he's gonna get roasted in uh, film study tomorrow, as he should. It's a learning opportunity, and you just hope that he doesn't make a mistake like that again. So stuff like that's going to happen, and that's okay because it didn't end up costing us the game. But that's going to happen when you have young secondaries. Guys are going to make mistakes, so they're people too, and you just hope that they learn from it.
And they're
But
youngsters. So,
on
I
the other
mean,
hand, McDuffie's been a damn good corner this year.
I think he's ranked, if I'm not mistaken, I think somebody had sent me a stat that he's ranked top 10 right now.
I mean, if it
That
weren't for
sounds about
Sauce,
right.
if it weren't for
So,
Sauce Gardner, we might be talking. And the fact that McDuffie was injured for what, like a week and a half or a month and a
no,
half.
month and
If
a
he
half,
wasn't
yes.
injured,
About
and
4 or 5 games.
if it weren't for Sauce Gardner, we might be talking about McDuffie being the best corner in this class.
Yeah. I still think he's probably probably he's top 2 in this class. So you always hear Sauce Gardner. I think a lot of it has to do with his name. And then you do hear a lot about McDuffie because he's done so well. Even corners, ex-corners, retired corners are saying how great he's doing his first year in the league. So I can't complain with that. He says, Carter says, Bieniemy is working one of the, if not the best offensive schemer in Andy Reid and the best and arguably most talented quarterback of this generation. And some of the stuff he comes up with is abysmal. And you're 100% correct. It absolutely is. I think the Michael Burton run was a prime example of why he struggles. I'm trying to keep myself from saying something stupid, but not stupid, but incorrect, I should say. to as far as the team is concerned. I got to keep myself on a low down low on that stuff, but he is very very stubborn. I'll put it that way. If there's any word I can use, I would use stubborn. And he's not allowing the team to flourish with his stubbornness. It almost seems like to me the ego and the arrogance that we all seen coming, we knew about prior to anybody else knowing about, and we actually started talking about it, has come back. And we actually started noticing it about week 3 of this year. He was fine during training camp, Mr. Calm Guy, fine during the preseason, pretty good during week 1. Week 2, you could kind of start noticing it. Week 3, it went downhill. And that is not something that we need. We need somebody that is going to be able to call the plays that are on your play sheet and have them make sense. Don't call plays just to call plays, because you're never going to get anywhere doing that. If you see something, or if your quarterback or your Hall of Fame tight end sees something, friggin' listen to them, because they're the ones that are actually on the field. They're the ones that are staring down these defenders, not you. So, and Philip's right. McDuffie is the real deal. Future DPOY, I guarantee it. I think this year, Chris Jones, if he's not nominated as Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know, man. The guy is playing out of his shoes right now.
Very compelling case. There's no way he should not be in the conversation after what he's done week after week.
What's his name from the Cowboys is probably
Mike Parsons is probably going to win it.
Micah Parsons is probably going to win it, but
the guy from the Patriots who is leading the league in sacks is up there. I would say. I don't remember.
But he's barely leading
Judon.
Chris Jones.
I don't. Judon.
Yeah, he's barely. I think he's only got one or
Judon.
1.5 on Chris Jones right now. So
those are to me. Those are a couple of the defensive play. The thing is like right now in the NFL, there's not a dominant safety. And linebackers have continued to become devalued in the NFL. I think that's something that I want to talk about. So in the modern NFL, I think defensive linemen and corners are really guys that are going to win Defensive Player of the Year. We know Aaron Donald's won it a couple of times. I think at least for the next couple of years, sacks is probably what's going to get Defensive Player of the Year candidates until I think we need to have the NFL needs to have a come to Jesus moment and know that sacks are not the only thing that matter on defense.
Yeah.
I think
Quentin. Preach it.
I think the Associated Press cares about two things for Defensive Player of the Year, and that's sacks and interceptions.
Yeah.
And that's why defensive tackles and defensive ends for the next couple of years are probably going to be the guys that win Defensive Player of the Year. If I lived in Kansas and could play a bet, I would say that that's probably what's going to end up happening. Especially,
Brett Veach is so far ahead of his time. When you talk about that, he's so far ahead of his time that he's always valued safeties over corners.
I think that, yeah, well, and I think that the thing is too is safeties are more versatile on the field, like corners. Besides Snead, corners are limited in what they can do. So when you have your safeties, you can put them in the box, you can put them deep coverage, you can use them as blitzes, and that's why the Chiefs are unique in the sense that they have Snead, who is, I think, really the only corner in the NFL that can do what he does. So otherwise, you have a safety style guy that's in that role.
Well, that's because Snead can play both, and he's extremely talented. He could play
I'm
safety.
pretty sure, was Snead the one? I think he played safety in college up until his last year.
I think you're right, yep.
And then the team needed a corner, so he just transitioned into corner. So I think he's by trade a safety anyways. It's just his last year in college, he switched to be a corner,
which one of the best hybrid secondary guys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When it really
if I remember his pre-draft stuff correctly.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what he was.
I'm a big McDuffie guy. I was excited when we drafted him. I wasn't doing the show at that point, so I couldn't stamp it in. But
well, I will tell you that prior to this season starting, We talked about a lot of things that we had heard on the show, and for the most part, all of it's come true. Um, these guys tell us things, and there's certain things that we will talk about, certain things that we won't. But everything that in fact, we talked about prior to even anybody going to training camp. What we had heard was Pacheco's going to be probably starting between week 5 and week 7. He's going to get the starting role depending on what happens with Clyde. And they wanted to keep Clyde on the field. They didn't want to take it away from him. I understand that. If you got a guy that's down, you try to keep him up. That's the best way you can keep your players good. But when it comes down to it, Clyde's just not the guy. He's just not the guy that fits within our scheme. We need a guy like Pacheco, a guy like Kareem Hunt that we had. Those are the guys that fit within our scheme very well. McKinnon fits in our scheme very well. Why? Because he can be a hard-nosed running back, and people take away from the power that he actually does have when he's running the ball, but he can also get out in the open field and catch. And today was a great example of that. We just need to realize how lucky we actually are. I think as Chiefs fans, some of them gotten spoiled. Some just expect perfection in every game from every player, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, Travis Kelce's the best tight end, and probably is going to go down as probably the best tight end that's ever played the game.
If he keeps doing this for even 2 more years, I think that's true.
Yeah, I think he's probably got at least 3 or 4 left in him, but I think he will ride out his contract. So I think he's going to go down as the best, and he still makes mistakes. There's things that happen. Yep. So when you got a bunch of rookies out there, don't cry because they make a mistake here and there, because it's going to happen. We have 42 sacks on the season, 3rd most in the NFL. Last time we were top 3 in sacks, 2018, but we had the 31st overall defense that season. That is absolutely true. This season we're at 15th overall. We were at 11th, but we're 15th overall. I am not complaining about 15th overall with 5 rookies and 3 first-year guys or players on our team. I am not complaining.
Look, there are 2 problems I have with this defense. 1, they're bad in the red zone, and 2, I would like to see them get more turnovers. Those are the 2 things. When Snead literally gets hit in the face mask with a ball, my dude's gotta catch it. You gotta, okay?
But
you can't tell me
that's fair. That's fair.
I agree with you.
You can't tell me you didn't see it because it knocked you in between the eyeballs, okay?
Okay,
you had
but
plenty
you have
of
to
time.
realize this. They were actually one of the best teams in the red zone in defense for the first 7 games. They were one of the best, holding people out of the end zone for touchdowns the first 7 games.
Then get back to it, because you've been slacking. So yeah, I need you to get better in the red zone. You need play more teams to kick field goals and not touchdowns, or you need to get more teams to go for it on 4th down to try and get touchdowns. And when a ball hits you between the eyes, you have 2 opportunities to catch it. You have the time before it hits you in the face mask and when it pops off. Okay?
Well, I can guarantee you it won't happen again. He won't let that happen again. I guarantee you that. He's too good. That will not happen again.
All joking aside,
it's hard as a corner, man. It's hard. Look, when you're defending somebody and you're watching 2 people sometimes, and then a ball comes at you at 50 miles an hour, and you're able to block it with your face, I mean, I'm okay with that. I kind of remember, who was it that caught the ball with their face mask? Somebody caught a ball with their face mask one time. Don't remember who it was. Then, of course, the famous catch with the Giants. He caught it with his helmet. So, and that was a wide receiver, of course. But when a ball's coming at you at that kind of speed, and you've got to make a decision, a split decision, especially when you just turn around and it's there. If it hits me in the face and I can't come down with it, at least I broke it up with my face. I guess I should say. It was a face breakup. I don't know what else to say. But here, I want to read something off really quick, because Philip actually sent this to me. He has, Philip.
All right, you do that, and then we can get to our offensive, defensive MVPs.
That's fine. Isaiah Pacheco, 2022 Combine. Weight, Isaiah Pacheco 216. Marshawn Lynch was 215. Bench press, Isaiah Pacheco 27. Le'Veon Bell 24. 10-yard split, Isaiah Pacheco 1.49. Jamal Charles 1.53. 40-yard dash, Pacheco 4.37. Jamal Charles 4.38. Vertical leap, or vertical jump, I should say. Pacheco 33, exactly 33. Jamal Charles was 30.5. I don't know the difference in height between those two guys. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that Jamal Charles is, if not the same height as Pacheco is, around 5'10". So I'd say we picked up a hell of a gem right there. How could you pass up on a guy like that? I mean,
But other teams did not do their research.
You got to think too. This was post-COVID, so there was a lot of extra guys coming out too.
Yeah, but even at that, look, dude, you got a lot of teams out there that would kill to have a Pacheco. And honestly, if you did your research and if you had the foresight to see what someone does in college like Veach does, you're going to grab that guy anyway, regardless of what happens with COVID or not.
Isaiah Pacheco is 5'10", 216. And Jamal Charles is 5'11" and 199.
So there you go. He's an inch taller.
So, yeah, Charles is an inch taller, but like 17
weight.
pounds? 17 pounds lighter. So Pacheco's got some meat on him.
He does, but I just don't know how, and like Philip says, I don't know how you ever pass on a guy with those numbers. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe it's because he was from, a school that...
Rutgers, yeah.
Rutgers that maybe people don't really care about. Veach looks at all those schools. We've talked about this numerous times where he will travel to a high school and look at players. So I don't know, man. We've lucked out tremendously. And, man, I can't say enough about Trey Smith today. That hit he laid downfield was phenomenal. Phenomenal hit.
It was great.
The dude came out of nowhere and actually came off of one block and took out another one. The dude,
and Creed Humphrey, was chugging downfield too, and they both ended up double teaming. So look, it's this the middle of this offensive line is, arguably one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. The
Creed
two guards in our center
without fail, and as much as I hate to say that, but
are top tier. So
yeah.
Okay, MVPs. Caleb, we'll go offensive MVP first. You want to start, and then Caleb, JP, me.
Sure.
That's fine. I'll say McKinnon. Just his ability as a third round down back to get a lot of great receiving yards today. I think he had like 3 or 4 receptions for 116 yards. When they needed him the most on the lane game, he did really, really well. So that's my offensive MVP right there. He was just one of the most consistent guys for the most part of the game. I would give it to Pacheco if he had more playing time, but I'm giving it to McKinnon.
I mean, McKinnon went 7 receptions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns with one of the coolest screen pass touchdowns I've ever seen. So
yeah, I actually was going to hand it to Pacheco, but to McKinnon, but since you did, I'm going to give it to Travis Kelce because he did exactly what I thought he was going to do, and he broke that 10,000-yard mark on one play. He was still out there dominating. He actually did get injured a little bit during the game, and he still played through the game. I love Travis. I think everything about him is just screams Hall of Famer. I mean, just screams it. The guy I don't know. If he's not blocking somebody, he's chip blocking, he's blocking, he's opening lanes up, or he's making a phenomenal catch. So I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, I think both of those are pretty good. I don't want to give it to Mahomes because I just don't think I can give it to a guy that has 3 interceptions on the day. I think I'm going to go ahead, just so I don't repeat what you guys said, I think I'm going to give it to Pacheco. The guy had 70 yards on the ground, and he had 23 yards in the passing game. So he continues his 80-yard from scrimmage streak, and he sealed the game for us late in there. So I think he deserves, all the love too. He continues to impress, and he's an all-around back that's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Caleb, you want to go defense?
Yeah. My defense, I'm going to Willie Gay. athletic linebacker, just going out there dominating. To see him get the tip pass and then catch it, run it back, stiff on Russell Wilson to the ground. I mean, that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. It was perfect. Another one of Beach's draft signings. Perfect. I think he's going to really help this team this year.
Okay. I'm going to have to go with it's hard because it's a toss-up for me. It's either Willie Gay or it's Chris Jones. But I think I'm going to take that back. I'm going to actually go a different route. It's probably unpopular, but I'm going to give it to Frank Clark.
I knew you were going to go Frank.
And I say that because Frank was in the backfield causing havoc, doing what he needed to do the entire game, got his sack, created sacks for other people, keeps people from running that side of the field. I'm going to give it to Frank.
You know, I think that's totally valid. He was in the backfield a lot. There were a lot of guys that were back there. It's hard to pick a defensive lineman just because everybody participated. Nobody dominated on the defensive line today because they all dominated on the defensive line today.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna go ahead. I'm between Snead and Thornhill, just because both of them played well in the backfield today, and I think both of them got some flack last week. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to Snead just because Snead ended up with that interception. He helped late in the game, sort of help us seal it as well. He really played his slot position well. I don't remember a time where the Chiefs got burned on the inside. I think a lot of Jerry Jeudy burned the Chiefs with his 3 touchdowns, and I don't think any of those were on the inside, at least that I can remember. So I'm going to give it to Snead. He seemed to really lock down his position, got a couple tackles today, but I think this was really a team defensive win. There really isn't one guy that you could give it to besides Willie Gay because of that pick six and just how athletic it was. So I'm going to give mine to Snead just because I think he did an overall pretty good job with his slot position today.
Well, I agree. And Philip went with Frank Clark as well. As his relentless effort, he's correct, and he disrupts everything. He's so disruptive. And I got to tell you, at his age, he is still the fastest, in my opinion. You could argue with maybe Micah Parsons, but I still think he's the fastest off the ball I've seen this year. And last year, for that matter. Even when he wasn't playing as well, he's so quick off the ball. It's crazy how fast he is. He's got that down to an art. And that's something that Derek had that's so reminiscent of what Derek used to do. He was so quick off the ball. Derek just had a technique that I don't think anybody will ever rival. But Frank's got good technique as well. I don't know. I think he did a great job. And as far as Thornhill's concerned, I will 100% agree with you because not even just last week and or a couple weeks, they started off at the beginning. It was within 7 minutes of the game starting, people were complaining about him, and then he came out and had a hell of a game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what happens is sort of like, if a player gets on social media and starts barking back at the fans, I think that's just gonna piss off a lot of Chiefs fans, and I think no matter what they do, I think that they're just going to continue to be pissed at him, and I don't think that's right. I don't think that's at all a representation of the kingdom. I think that's a very small fraction, a fraction of a fraction, and every fan base has people like that, some more than others, but I just hope that Thornhill knows that we respect his game. We believe in Thornhill. I'd like to think that everybody in the comment section here believes that I think he's been a very productive part of this team. The guy got a sack today on the Broncos' first drive. So I believe that Thornhill is a good safety and that he's an effective part of this defense and he helps contribute to this defense. Quite frankly, nobody played well last week. So to single out one player, yeah, he barked on social media. He should not have said anything. But I believe he's a significant part of this defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Same here.
In terms, what are you gonna say, Caleb? I was gonna get to believe it or not.
That's actually what I was gonna say too.
Okay. We were so close. we all had Travis Kelce getting 78.5 yards, and Travis Kelce, I kid you not, ended with 71.
Oh wow.
Wow.
We were
Just
so
wow.
close.
If he would have caught that one pass in the second
Yeah.
quarter, we would have had that.
Yeah.
We were all so close. We were right on Pacheco. He did get his 80 yards from scrimmage. Pacheco rushed for 70, and he caught the ball. He had 23 receiving yards, so he had a total was at 93 yards from scrimmage. So we were right there. And what was the last one here?
Travis
We had
Kelce
our
Vegas.
scores. Our scores were all wrong, mostly because the Broncos scored 28. We were all in the
Yeah.
ballpark with the Chiefs, but with the Broncos scoring 28, I mean that was just
We
way
didn't
off
see that
target.
happening, but it happened.
Yeah, I didn't expect the Chiefs not to score under 30 this week. I just didn't expect it. I couldn't see it happening. So
Yeah, we all had JP and I had them scoring. We had the Broncos scoring over 10, but yeah, definitely not anywhere close to that.
no.
Yeah, that was our third. That was sort of our third leg there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we just have nothing but good things coming towards us right now with this team.
I think the Chiefs, after Houston, then we've got the the Seahawks at home, Broncos at home, and then we go to Vegas. Is that right?
Yep, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the schedule right now. Yep, they play.
Yeah.
You have Texans, Seahawks. They play at the Texans. Then the Seahawks are going to come home. That's going to be Christmas Eve. Then Broncos are going to come here, and then they're going to go to the Raiders January 8th. So yeah, 4 games left. We're almost into the season.
Yeah, and the start of a new one right after that. So,
Yep.
Philip said Frank is the Wes Welker of pass rushers, despite the 40 times. Yeah, he's right. The quickness in space is off the charts, and I agree. I think looking at the games that we have left, the only thing that I'm just going to ask this, and then we can end this show. Does any of these teams concern you? Any of these games moving forward concern you?
I mean, and divisional games, they're always up in the air. I think the Chiefs are better than both of the Broncos and the Raiders, significantly. But like we saw today, the Broncos, they still have talent there. The Raiders, Devontae Adams is a beast. Now they're significantly weaker than the last time we faced them. But I'm not worried about the Texans. I know they put up a fight against the Cowboys today, but the Chiefs are not the Cowboys by any measure. And the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks have cooled off. They are nothing like they were early in the season. There's a good chance that Devontae Adams goes off against the Chiefs just because his size, and we know the Chiefs struggle against larger wide receivers, but I think the Chiefs are significantly better than all of those teams. But yeah, divisional games are always weird. So I kind of just hope that the Chiefs don't really need the win against the Raiders. But
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, fun fact: if the Chargers lose tonight, the Chiefs clinch the division, but the Chargers are up by 10 right now. So,
yeah, 17-7 right now.
Who
Yep.
are they playing?
So,
The Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Oh, well, that
Anything's
I would-
possible.
What is it? Not even halftime yet, though, is it?
It is halftime right
It's
now.
halftime.
It's halftime right now. So okay, I
Mhm.
mean I'm not. I can't see. Well, I mean I guess I can, but I can also see the Dolphins coming back and winning that game.
Oh yeah, with that offense, they've got plenty of time. So
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
well, let's just hope and pray Miami beats them, and we can end this AFC West part of it, and then move on to just winning the AFC. That would be a great thing. And I don't see Buffalo winning out, so they're going to have to win out to take the 1 seed. But I'm not concerned if we get the 2 seed. So I think.
Yeah, they still got a chance.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
I'm not either.
no,
Takes
yeah,
one
I'm not.
game. Takes one game. That's all it takes. So, with that being said, I appreciate everybody joining. And check out the bottom of the screen. We have a special going on with FOCO. Any item of the 11,000 items that we have on Foco Sports, you can get a 15% discount by just using the code word Chiefs Focus 15. That will be your code when you type in to purchase something. They have some amazing stuff on there. I mean, you'll never find some of the most unique things that are all NFL licensed or Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL. It's all licensed, and we have some amazing stuff on there. So just check it out. Get it in before Christmas comes, because you still have time to get it before Christmas Day, or before Christmas, I should say. Thanks, Scott. We much appreciate you joining, brother. Check out the site, man. You will like what you see, and it's also pinned to our front page on Twitter, and it's also on our website as well. On any article that's out, it's there. So just check out Foco, and we also have Nico Sports joining on, and we have Fanatics that are coming up pretty soon for all the sports needs. And with that being said, we appreciate everybody coming on. We will talk to you again on Tuesday.
And we will go over the rest of the NFL on Tuesday.
Yes.
I have some thoughts on the rest of the NFL, so definitely join us there. And my article will be out about this game.
Yep.
As usual, it's always a treat. It's always you always make good stuff when you make good stuff.
This might not to pat myself on the back, but I'm feeling pretty good about this one.
I'll pat you on the back.
Thanks.
No problem. Well, we saw some Waterboy performances today, and we saw some other things. So let's just continue with the great vibes, and we'll move forward. And I see us making a deep run and maybe winning a Super Bowl this year. Don't get too down on these guys, because they're doing everything they can for us and for them. So with that being said, check out Foco, check out everything, and we will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Peace out, everybody.
See you next time, guys.